It's a sleep mask. I bought it for my trip to Iceland. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to a video which I hope is kind of a fun, playful look at kind of our preferences, kind of our maybe peccadillos we have as readers, things we like, things that make a book more special to us, things that make a book more rewarding, dare I say, make the reading experience more pleasurable. And I decided to do this differently than, just like looking at things like, what do you like in a book, or what kind of things do you do when you read a book, and kind of look at kind of really specific things that are items that increase one's reading pleasure. I wanted to do this because, it occurred to me, A, that I have quite a few of these fetishes or kinks, as I'm going to call them in this video, related to reading, and that, secondarily, reading is an incredibly intimate act between author and reader. An intimate act, that for most of us is we engage in for, our own pleasure. So, they're not completely disassociated. The idea of fetishes and kinks. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm defining a fetish as a thing. So you might want to think of a fetish as a noun that's present in books, that makes the book better for us, that makes us enjoy the book more. And a kink is an action, something the author or the reader does, which increases the pleasure of reading. So that's kind of how I want to look at it. I'm not sure those are the technical terms for these two things, but that's kind of how I wanted to look at it. And I'm going to share with you, 3 of my reading fetishes, 2 of my reading kinks, in the hopes that maybe you'll share yours if you feel like doing so in the comment section, or maybe if you have a channel and you want to do your own video about this, that you might. So my first reading fetish is pictures that appear in a book. And I don't mean pictures that are specifically of the thing that's being described, like you would find in a work of history, but pictures like you might find in a book by W.G. Sebald. This is Austerlitz's most famous novel, and one thing that's common across all of Sebald's works is the inclusion of pictures. You'll notice there are no captions with the pictures. That's because the pictures are there to just kind of enhance the story, to enhance the reading experience, and the pictures may or may not be of things that are actually talked about in the book. They may or may not be about things that are actually, the people depicted in the book. They're there to kind of, increase the impact of the book, I think, or to make the book more real, or make the story more real. You could look at, I just finished Justin Torres's Blackouts, which has similar use of pictures and other items that are placed between perhaps chapters and various places in the text to kind of have the same impact. But I really like that. Now, this may be that I like Sebald, that I like all of his works, but I really like that. It's one of those things that I really enjoy in a book. So my second fetish, I think, would be white spaces. So for whatever reason, I really like reading books that have a lot of white space. So recently I read 2 Sherpas by Sebastien Martinez Daniell, which is translated by Jennifer Croft, and it has a lot of short spaces, a lot of short chapters. So as a result, it has a lot of white space. So there's something for me about white space and short chapters which makes the book a lot more enjoyable. And it's not that all the places in 2 Sherpas are like that, but there's a lot of that. And maybe it's because short chapters are just faster to read, and it makes me feel like I'm increasing my reading speed or my reading momentum. But for whatever reason, that's true. One of my favorite books for a long time, since I've been at BookTube, is Noopiming by Leanne, Betasamosake, Simpson, and it has just tons of white space. It also does some other things that I like about in books, which we'll get to later. But I like that. I like white spaces in a book. Oftentimes I think people think, oh, well, the chapter's just short, and you go right on. But I think the white spaces in book oftentimes also have to do with the pacing of which you read. It may create momentum, but it also gives you kind of space to pause and think about what you just read, which is one of those things I kind of do anyway. So that would be my second reading or book related fetish. And my third is just a distinctive writing style. So that's one of those things I really look for, and one reason why I like the work of people like Toni Morrison so much. A really distinctive writing style. One of the things I like about Percival Everett's work is that his writing style seems to change with the subject of the book, and he's able to kind of pull this off, I think, really well in lots of places. Obviously Hemingway a distinctive writing style. Faulkner, a distinctive writing style. Even Cormac McCarthy, even though his writing style occasionally gets on my nerves, is the distinctive writing style. That's something that I really like. That's kind of would be one of my reading or book related fetishes. So there you go. There are my 3 fetishes. Notice those are all things: white spaces, pictures, style. I'm going to call those all fetishes. And the next 2 things then are kinks related to reading books. And one of these kinks is something I do that makes the reading experience better for me, and another is something that authors can do which makes the reading experience better for me. So I've confessed this before, but I am anti-spine cracking. It gives me great enjoyment to finish a paperback book and for it to be more or less just like it was before I started reading it. And so I work really hard oftentimes not to crack the spines of paperbacks. So to give you an example, this is my copy of Across the River into the Trees by Ernest Hemingway. I bought this, I want to say, in 1986, and the spine isn't cracked, and I'm rereading it. I didn't crack it the first time. I haven't cracked it this time. I don't know why, but I don't like cracking spines, and so I will actually read a book like this. So I'm reading this page now, and when I read this page, I turn the book so that I don't have to open the book wide and crack the spine. That's a thing with me. If you looked at 2 Sherpas, which I've also read, I didn't crack the spine when reading that, and I was pretty careful when opening it for you to show you that I also kind of kept it at that 90-degree angle. It's a thing, but I like getting to the end of a book and closing it and it looking more or less just like it looked. Now, unfortunately, my copy of Across the River in the Trees has a little corner that's broken off, but it is a really old paperback. So that would be one of the kinks, that I employ personally when reading a book, which makes the book more enjoyable. And then the second kind of kink I think I have has to do with the way in which the author structured the book. I like authors, I like books who play with the form and who oftentimes incorporate perhaps some elements of some meta elements into the book. So I can think of, I thought of several books I've read recently that do that. Cuddy by Benjamin Myers, which I just absolutely love. Employs the style where there's some parts that are in verse. I believe there's some parts that are more like poems, and if I could find it I would show you, but I can't real quick. In some places, one of my friends, Tess, pointed out to me, the text actually gets smaller. It diminishes in size to kind of indicate that we're drifting off, or that something's becoming repetitive. My friend Marc Nash is great at playing with form. He oftentimes, as in his book 3 Dreams in the Key of G, has the form of the book, the formatting of the pages actually looks different. He incorporates charts and all kinds of things in there. I really like that. As far as meta, Marc's book, Death of the Author in Triplicate, is really meta in its approach to the relationship between writer or author and reader, or writer and author and audience, and intent and characters. And then one of my favorite books of this year was The Long Form by Kate Briggs, which also kind of plays with that idea of somebody reading a book and telling us about the novel and the form of the novel while writing a novel. Really liked all those books. So there you go. There are my book fetishes and kinks. I hope that wasn't too weird, or wasn't off-putting at all, but I really thought this was just kind of a fun way to look at the things in books that we really like that increase our reading pleasure. Anyway, there you go. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and as always, thank you for watching.